Hey, HannahMouse1 here. Welcome to another devlog for A Farmer's Life, a farming game that I'm making in Scratch. In this video, I'll be making some changes to the tile system and adding in some new crops. I started by making some tweaks to how the tile index system works. This is how the tile drawing system references what tile it needs to draw. The way I had it was quite limiting because I could only have as many types of tile as there were letters of the alphabet, and I was quickly running out of those. The biggest cause of this was that each type of crop took up a single letter, and because this was only compound when I added in the planned new crops, I changed it so all crops are referenced under a single letter. I also updated the art for the small rocks, updating the base rock art and creating 2 more random varieties for them to create more visual interest, especially where there are a lot of rocks grouped together, like in the quarry. This is a change that I made for the trees a while back, and I've wanted to do the same for the rocks ever since, so I'm glad that I finally got around to that. I had to go through any mechanics relating to the rocks and make sure that it still worked for the new varieties, like breaking rocks and displaying the health bar. And finally, I made it so that the farm is 12 tiles wide instead of 10. Someone requested this because they wanted to be able to place things in neat rows of 10, and as 2 of the tiles are taken up by fences, it needed to be 12 wide, not 10. So considering I was already overhauling the tile system, I decided to change this now. I also took the time now to figure out loading in old files of these changes, altering the tile index value for the crops, randomizing the rocks, and adding in an empty row at each edge of the farm to bring the width up to the necessary 12. I then did all the artwork for the new crops, of which there are 9: bell peppers, courgette, lettuce, aubergine, Brussels sprouts, onions, garlic, turnips, and watermelon. And for each of these I needed to make 3 sprites, 2 growth stages and a harvest stage. I wanted to add these because with all the new additions into the game, I was worried that the farming part of this farming game was becoming a tad bit overlooked. Like, I haven't added any crops since that first batch in episode 9 of this series. That was 20 episodes ago. That video came out 1 year ago tomorrow if you're watching this on the day it was released. But back to the art. The trickiest thing with this was making them all look different, because a lot of plants look really similar until the veggie part of it grows in, but really as long as they look kinda different, I think they had enough visual interest, and I referenced a lot of different diagrams of growth stages and the like to try and make them at least somewhat recognizable. And then I had to add the new costumes to the overlay sprite and add the hitboxes to the collision sprite. I also added the new tiles to the tile index before touching up the art for the cauliflowers and the pumpkins, because I just really didn't like how they looked. They were a bit blocky, a holdover from the old art style, I suppose, so I brought those up to snuff. Then I made the inventory icons for all the necessary new items, so all of the crops as well as seeds for any that aren't root vegetables, which act as their own seeds. For the seeds, I found it quite challenging in some cases to make the incredibly tiny versions of the crop to go onto the packet, but I think I got something decent enough for each, and then I just had to match each of these icons in a slightly larger version for the actual crop. There were a few things that I had to do to get these into the game. I had to make labels for each new item, add them to the item index, get them displaying in the correct inventory tabs, and to make it so that seeds can actually be planted. Luckily, all of this was super easy because of how modularly I had set all of this up before. The new crops will take way longer to grow than the old ones, and I also increased the growth times for the old ones very slightly because I found when playtesting that the speed at which the crops grew made the whole situation feel a bit busy and overwhelming. Next, I worked on the UI for the upgrade in the lab that will unlock all of these new crops. I needed to make an icon for the page with a ticked out version for once it's unlocked, as well as an upgrade description and a mouse over title. I added it to the item index and set its base cost and got it to display on the lab page, which required me to make a new page because there were just too many icons on the farm page once this one was added. Then I added the new items to the shop, which was a bit fiddly because with so many unlockable items, I needed to make it so that the game could calculate how many pages the buy and sell tabs needed based on what upgrades had been unlocked. There were so many little things that weren't quite working as I wanted, which was super annoying, but I eventually figured it out. I gave each new item a price so you can actually buy the things, and I also made it so that the crops grow to the next stage when appropriate because I'd forgotten to do that earlier. I also had to add all of the new crops into the logbook, which involved creating a blacked out version of each crop and adding them to the logbook page, as well as ensuring that they are factored in when awarding the Harvest Every Crop achievement. And the final thing that I did this week was to add in the goods related to these new crops, so that's pickles for all of the veg, as well as jam and a drink for the watermelon. I created the art for all of these, and the UI for the crafting page. I made it so that the icons display into the workspaces and black out if you don't have enough of the ingredients. I also needed art for the item label UI. I made it so that these items can actually be crafted. I made it so that the UI can display how much of each ingredient you have currently for these recipes, and added the new items to the shop. I also needed to add these items to the logbook, which required me to move things around just because of how many goods there are now. There are actually over 100 items in the game now, but I managed to get everything laid out correctly, and I had it so that the goods are factored into the collect every goods achievement. And that's all I got done this week, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did. It lets me know there's something you want to see more of. Join the Discord, link down below, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!